Happy New Year, everyone. Great to see you. I know I haven't seen all of y'all in a while. Good to be with you. Glad you're here. I want to welcome everyone who's watching online or listening to this on our podcast. Everybody say, hey, online. I want to say what's up to Pop and my mom. Love you so much. Been thinking and praying for y'all out there. I want to invite you to open your Bible to Mark chapter 6 as we jump into this new year. We're going to be in a new series called Living the Life. And you'll see that up there, but I've instructed our graphics department to cross out the word life in a way and just put living the lie. I want to talk for the next couple of weeks about how, like, at the start of the year, everyone's like, dude, we're going to live the life. It's going to be the time of I'm going to change my life. Everything's going to get better from here. And I just want to tell you right now that all of that is you lying to yourself. Happy New Year, everyone. Let's close in prayer. What do I mean? I mean this. I mean, if you do not first address some of the things that you allow yourself to lie to yourself about, if you don't identify things you are currently right now living subject to a lie about, you will not live the life. You will live the lie. Some of you are living a lie, not because you're living a shady life, or we all have stuff that's like not lining up with what we want or expect or desire out of our lives. That's not what I want to talk about. What I do want to talk about is the sneaky way that either things other people have said to us that we bought into, things that got said when you were a kid, things got said from your ex, things got said from some coach, things that got said from a mom or a dad or whatever, and it got into your mind and your heart and it stayed there, and you are bound by it, but it's a lie. It's not true. It's not what God thinks. It's not what God says. It's not what is accurate, but you wouldn't know it because you live as if it is the truth. And it is so powerful when you live subject to a lie about yourself. I want you to know this. Even God's truth cannot mess with a lie you believe. Did you hear that? It is the only thing that will break that lie. But if you hold on to a lie, I will promise you this, a lie you believe is more powerful than the truth. I could bring the truth, but you'll be like, yeah, but I believe this, so who cares about that truth? You are not open to truth. You're not open to living a life. You can't be opened to the living the life that God has for you if you cannot identify the lie that has so much power over your life. So I want to talk about that for the next couple weeks. I want you to see and hear some of the different ones that you start running after and you're like, that's what's true and I got to make sure it's not true and I got to go fix or I got to go do or I got to go prove or I got to go attain or I got to go be. And that is what ends up making us be so tired, so exhausted, so run down, so beat up, so without energy, so without hope, so without joy, so without peace. It's not that we have all those problems. You're not a joyless, peaceless, like hopeless, purposeless person. God didn't make you that way. You have all that stuff in you. God's put it inside of you. The problem isn't that you don't have that stuff inside of you. God's placed it in you, especially those of you who are following him and have accepted him and asked him to be your God and Savior. He fills you with the characters of Christ. It's a supernatural thing. The problem becomes that stuff lies dormant. And it doesn't have life. It doesn't have access. You can't see it grow because the weeds of the lies that you are actually living under have more power than the truth that God is trying to get you. So I want to wake that up in you this week. And I want to wake that up in you in this series over the next many weeks. We're going to launch our year into that. And I guess if I considered it, we were thinking about it, it's like we've all had times where we had to question or feel like we didn't have like what it took, right? Like where it's like, man, I just can't live the life because I don't have the ability to do that. Or I can't live this moment, or I don't have what it takes, right? Living the life sometimes means you have to have a certain level of talent so you could perform in an athletic endeavor, a musical endeavor, like maybe a social endeavor, maybe a business endeavor, a financial endeavor. You're like, yeah, well, I can't live the life because I don't have this, right? And sometimes it gets pointed out to us, and we can come to recognize how little we can do on our own or how little we can pull off just by ourselves. One of the lies that I want to address today that I think owns us in a lot of ways. And I will say, for good reason, especially in some certain environments, this lie can get on you bad. And here's one of them. And I'm going to tell you, I don't normally always tell you up front, but I'm going to tell you the lie I want to go after today. And here's the lie. Here's the one that I think that a lot of us are living subject to. I either don't or I won't have enough. I don't have enough. I won't have enough. I don't have enough. I won't have enough. I don't have enough, and I don't know what your thing is, but I promise you it's in there. I don't have enough talent. I don't have enough friends. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough energy. I don't have enough strength. I don't have enough willpower. I don't have enough wisdom. I don't have enough of a healthy family system. I don't have it, whatever your thing is. A lot of why we stay the way we have been is because underneath it, you believe the lie that you don't have enough on your own. You should have been given something you were not given. You should have something you don't have. Someone should be thinking about helping you in a way they're not thinking about it. And if only you had enough friends, advice, money, counsel, whatever it is, you'd be better off right now. The reason you are stuck where you're at, the lie goes, is I don't have it. Someone else out there is not providing me. Something else is going, I don't have. God didn't, my parents didn't, my mom didn't, my dad didn't, my grandparents didn't. Nobody left me, nobody gave me, nobody trained me, nobody taught me. And that's why it's why I have to, if it's gonna happen, I gotta do it. Or it's why, I just don't have enough, I'm not even gonna try. And you're one of those two people. You're either overdoing it because you don't have enough, or you are underdoing it because you don't have enough. So you're not even trying to address a certain issue in your life. You're not even trying to address an area that you and I would agree. If we went to coffee right now, you and I would agree on some things. You would tell me, here's 3 or 4 things I know are out of alignment. They're out of whack in my life. They've gotten out of control. We'd agree. And the hardship of even wanting to try to address those things is not, you need a New Year's resolution. No, what you need is a new truth to battle that old lie. You need new truth to battle the old lie, because that old lie has ran your life for a long time. And so today I want to talk about, what do you do when you find yourself in a situation where it does feel like you're in the wilderness against something. You feel like you are alone, and you might, ready for this? You might be alone. You actually might be the only one in your family that's going to start caring about your health. You might be the only one in your family that says, I want to stop drinking. You might be the only one in your family that says, I don't want to spend money like that. You might be the only one in your family that says, I'm going to church. I'm going to church, and I'm always going to church. Unless I'm sick or got something very critical, I'm not missing church. I'm not. I'm going to be in God's house. I'm going to be with God's people. I want to hear God's word. I want to feel God's presence. I need to be. I'm not going to make that decision based on how I feel on Sunday morning. I'm going to make that decision based on how I believe right now. And then that thing is just done. I've made the decision about church. I'm not making it on Sundays. I made it already. And Sundays just get the result of that decision, right? And you might be the only one in your family that feels and sticks to that. Then that's fine. You might be alone here today in your situation. You might be the only teacher at your school that is trying to balance faith without doing it in a public school system. You might be the only person who has a faith at the work environment that's trying to figure out how to retain faith and do it, but not violate like the policies of sharing too much or whatever. You might be the only person in your family that thinks the way you do or feels the way you do. You might be the only person like in your whatever. And guess what? That can be and is a remote feeling. It is a wilderness type feeling. The cool thing about God is God knew we were going to deal with this. He knew that. This is not a surprise to God. You surprised. God's not surprised. God's not like, what? There's inflation in America? Oh, no, man. That's how you feel. God is composed with a sovereign resolve. God is okay right now. It is not joyous when things are terrible, but God is not wringing his hands uncertain. God is certain. And God is the rock that we rely on. He is the foundation we need, because we will be blown around by every bad, terrible thing that happens. We'll never be able to be grounded if we just run off after that stuff and let that stuff own us. This is not the first season of the world that had a bad economy, This is not the first season of the world that had bad economics. This is not the first time in the history of even our nation we've had a difficult time with leadership or evil or government or economics or arguments or division. This is not the first time. It's sometimes how we think. We think like, man, dude, it's like, I can't believe these things, or I can't believe this time. I don't know. And it's like we trip out. And I just want to tell you this. God has dealt with a bad economy before. I want to tell you this. Some of you are young, you don't know that. So I'm going to tell you. The old folk know what I'm about to say. I just want to say this right now. If you're older, you don't even have to listen for the next 60 seconds. So I'm not even talking to you because you already know. But if you're younger, I want to tell you something. God has already dealt with a bad economy in the history of just our cute little baby nation. Couple 100 years, that's it. It's not even that old. There were literally countries and like empires that lasted a long time. We don't even have a building 500 years old in America. You travel overseas, like, this thing's 1,000 years old. It's like, what? We don't even know what that looks like. So in our cute little baby toddler nation we got over here, even in that, the history is there's been bad economy. There's been bad decisions by people in leadership. We have had problems with the people that represent us. We have had untrustworthy news media giving us false information. We have had improper connections between media and government entities and corporate entities that care more about making money than caring for the American consumer. This is not brand new. I don't know if you remember this, but you might have seen advertisements for women who were pregnant to choose the right cigarette. That's real. That's a real thing. They used to not care that pregnant women smoked cigarettes and would advertise the right one if you were pregnant. Here's those people making those cigarettes for pregnant women. How could they? Ours. If you got a baby, smoke our cigarette. So just so you don't get so up in arms about how corrupt all of it is, trust me when I tell you, it's been corrupt. Okay, godless people are on this planet, and that ain't changing tomorrow. Okay, that ain't changing until Jesus returns. We must be the people of God, not in absence of evil, in absence of corruption, in absence of difficult economy and difficult corruption and difficult leadership and difficult wildfires and hurricanes and tornadoes and wars. No, not in absence of it. That is not when the people of God stand strong. Everybody stands strong when it's easy. When your team wins a Super Bowl, it's easy to cheer. It's hard to act right when you lose, when your team does not win, when your candidate doesn't get elected, when things aren't going as you want, when the business and the this and the that, and you fill in the blanks with whatever it is that you feel alone about. That's when faith must be present in your life. And can I tell you this? That is no time to try to go build the house of faith when all of a sudden all hell is breaking loose. The reason some of you can't sustain yourself in the midst of tough times is because you don't build the house when the times are good. So when times are good, you're just enjoying the good times. Oh, it's so great. Look what I did to earn all these good times. You think you did something. You think you special. You ain't special. You special, but you ain't special. That's what my grandfather, yeah, you special boy, but you ain't special. So the thing about it is this. What do we do when we are alone? We are up against it. It is difficult. This is not to deny that it is. This is to actually accept, to admit, to confess, to state that it is. Okay, and then what? That's the lie we have to address. Fortunate for us, Jesus did this. There was this time when Jesus had just began his ministry and he had been baptized by his cousin. His name was John. They nicknamed him John the Baptist. They were very close, but the ruler of this region didn't like John the Baptist, and so he actually had him assassinated by the state in front of a ton of people at like a presidential like get together. They brought in Jesus' cousin and chopped his head off and put his head on a silver platter for everyone to like look at the party. I don't know that CNN like covered that. I don't know that Fox News was there with cameras. I'm not sure how that went down, but I'm gonna tell you right now, probably not an awesome experience for people who were followers of God or of the way of Jesus. Probably felt a little like, ooh, this is not really great for us. Jesus had solitude with his disciples after this because he was heartbroken. And after this missionary journey and this like grieving season he goes on, a large crowd follows him because he had done a ton of miracles. So they come out and he's in front of them, and there's a ton of Jewish people. It's primarily a Jewish region. And so this is kind of where they're at, and they're in the surrounding region. And so it can't handle, the crowd can't be held by the town. It's bananas. They're like, we got to get out of this town. The streets, you can't go nowhere. It's locked down. Traffic is crazy. We can't even talk to anyone. It's just too bound up. So they get out of the town and they go into a wide open area in what we would call a very remote area. The wilderness is what they called it. And I want to catch you up to this place where we are told in many of the gospel writers what it is that happened. It says in Mark chapter 6, verse 35, by this time it was late in the day. So his disciples came to him and said this to him. They said, this is a remote place, which if you're Jesus, do you not have the temptation? You have to be tempted if you're Jesus and you have a sense of humor to go, thank you, Captain Obvious. Thanks, this is a remote place. Really? That's what you came to Jesus, the Son of God, the all-knowing one with? Hey, by the way, Jesus, just want to let you know, take a look around. Very remote place we're in here today. This is a remote place, they said, and it's already very late. I can appreciate this, okay, because I'm a preacher. So I know what it's like when it's time to have the signal. Now, if you're married, right, or seriously dating, you already probably have this between you and your wife or your husband or whoever you're seriously dating, right? What is it? It's the signal. It's time to get up out of here. We going home signal. But it's respectful because you don't want nobody to see that you talking about it because you ain't trying to disrespect the guests, but you have the signal. Everybody got their signal. I don't know what yours is, if it's like, you're like a third base coach, or if it's like you walk up, dude, and like, I don't know what you do, hey, I don't know. Whatever your thing is, I'm not sure. But everybody got their own type of way to say, we're leaving, okay? Now, I'm not going to break off me and Brenda's because I don't want y'all to start trying to watch us next time we in public and be like, they about to leave. Plus, I'm Irish Scottish, so I do the Irish goodbye most of the time anyways. And some of y'all know that about me because you'll be like, man, where'd that man go? That man's already in bed. I'm out. So that's kind of what this conversation is. They're going up to Jesus. They're like, hey, Jesus, real quick. We're out here. We're kind of far away. Okay, nobody's taking the train. We walking home. Okay, so just, could you wrap this up, homie? We want to be respectful. You're Jesus. By the way, great 7 sermons you've preached today. They are all so good. We just have really enjoyed all 7 of the sermons. You did the whole Living the Life series in one day, Jesus. That's awesome. Kudos to you. Who could hold the crowd? Wow, you're amazing, right? I'm not lying. You're like you're like an epic. We're just so excited. But it's getting late. There's no street lights. Everyone's going to walk home. It is dangerous. There's going to be robbers and thieves hiding around different rocks and crooks and like different spaces. Can we just kind of like send these folks home? We got to either feed them or we got to do something here. And so Jesus says to them, he says, let's send the people away, verse 36, so that they can go to the surrounding countryside and villages and buy themselves something to eat. Verse 37, but he answered, you give them something to eat. I think that's when whoever the spokesperson was that was elected, all the rest of the disciples were like, man, see, you didn't even say it right, man. Your pitch was whack, right? I was like, man, we talked about it. You were supposed to say this first and then that, man. You didn't do it. That's why we didn't get the sale. We didn't get the contract. We didn't get the opportunity because you didn't do it right, Peter. Because Jesus kind of was like, what are you asking me to do? You do something. I just want you to know that I have functioned with this principle. When it comes to running an organization, by the way, if you're a leader of anything, organization, a department, a house, children, I recommend this is something you apply. Those who have worked with me know what I'm about to say. And this is what it is. Under Pastor Chris's leadership, there is no such thing as the complaint department. There is no complaint department anywhere I am leading or even standing in the room. Why is that, you ask? That's a great question. The reason why is if you complain and I find out about it, I always interpret complaining as volunteering to fix the problem. Always. If you go, you know what I was wondering, how come we don't do more? And I go, you seem to have a big heart for that. I'm so glad to hear you want to volunteer to help us do that. Thank you so much for your complaint about this thing you think we're just like not working hard enough to try to do this church at. So thank you. I love your heart. Why don't you pray how much more you want to give also to the church financially to help us really pull that off? It's so interesting how little people complain around me now. I don't really get complaint letters because people don't want to volunteer often. They just want me to fix the problem. They want the church to fix the problem. They want somebody else to fix the problem. They want somebody else to be the solution. They just want to be the complainer. They don't want to be the solver. We don't raise up complainers at our city church. We raise up problem solvers. I don't need problem identifiers. I could identify the problem. I need problem solvers. So if you ain't got 2 or 3 problems that you have solutions to, keep your problem to yourself. Everybody smile. So I don't know who it is at your job that's about to get a talk tomorrow, but I can tell somebody going in tomorrow like, you know what, I'm tired of these folks trying to tell me. Listen up. Jesus says that. They're like, you need to fix this problem, Jesus. He's like, you fix the problem. You give them something to eat. And they're like, wait, what? That didn't go very well. And he answered them, you give them something to eat. And they said to him, that would take more than half a year's wages, Jesus. How are we going to feed all these people? We can't feed all these. And he's like, are we to go? And so now they're digging into his solution. Oh, let me get this right. So are we to go and spend that much on bread and give it to them to eat? Like, it's so wonderful. I just love it. How like, they're just like, you are proposing something that's preposterous. And I just want to quote it back to you. Listen, if you're a wife right now, don't listen to me. I need to have a man talk real quick. But hey, husbands, have you ever just repeated back to her her own idea and she got mad at you because she didn't like what you were saying? And you were like, I literally am just quoting you to yourself. And then she's like, no, I don't want it. And you're like, listen, and you're like, that's not even my idea. I'm just parroting it back to you so you could hear what you said you wanted and now you don't want it and you're mad at me for sharing it with you. Don't respond too much to that dude. Just know that I hear you and Jesus heard you and he put it in the verse here to go, I got you, my man. Stay the course. Stay the course, okay? Because that's what they do to Jesus. They go, wait, Jesus, real quick. That would take half a year's wages. Are we to go and spend that much on bread and give them? They say it back to him. And by the way, half a year's wages would have been 200 denarii, and that was 8 months' wages. So not even half a month. They're just using a figure of speech. Any of you ever had this moment where on the flip side of it, where you had a parent, you had a boss, you have a coach, or you have someone, a teacher, and they come in and they literally ask you to do something, and you're sitting there and like you're looking around the room, you're reading the room, you're like, what this person is asking is impossible. And they're the only one that doesn't know it. They're the only one that doesn't see it. They don't know we can't do this. Like this cannot be done. And they're the boss or the parent or the leader or the coach. So you're kind of like, I don't know what to do with you because this can't happen. Don't. I know what that was, Mike. I don't have time to go down that rabbit hole. We all know my strengths and weaknesses. Jesus is about to teach them a very valuable lesson. And this is what it is. If you've ever been in a position where something felt impossible, where it felt like we aren't going to be able to save enough for retirement, I can't battle the cost of bread. I can't deal with the way this is. I can't figure out like this situation. I am alone. I am remote. I am in a wilderness situation. And there's nothing I have the power to change about that. That's exactly where this was. And it's exactly where they told God it was. They literally informed Jesus of the situation just to be clear that he knew it. And then Jesus says, you give them something to eat. And now they're bound because they're like, that's impossible. And now we're stuck. What do we do? And here's the answer. What do you do when what you need to do is impossible? You start with what you have. You start with what you have. If you start with what you don't have, you will never, ever break through things that you think are impossible, but actually are quite possible. You just don't believe it because you believe a lie that it's not possible. You can't see a way. That doesn't mean there isn't a way. You don't know how. That doesn't mean someone doesn't know how. You don't have the experience. Doesn't mean there isn't experience for you to go get. You've never done it. Doesn't mean no one out there can not do it. It just means you have not yet learned, accomplished, experienced, figured, asked and heard, been able to break free. You have a lie that says it's impossible in so many areas. This can't be done. It can be done. But you must not begin or continue rather to operate from the lie, because the lie says start with what you don't have, focus on that, verbalize that, confess that, speak about that, talk about that, ruminate about that, call your friend about that, text about that, look for podcasts on that, look for YouTubes on that, find reels and clips, and then start telling your algorithm what you feel. So then you get into this echo chamber where it's only going to tell you things that you already have said out loud into your phone that you want. So then it starts sending you everything that is just about that. And you're like, yeah, I knew it, I was right. Look how it's reinforcing everything that I think, and I don't have to be challenged to actually ever change the way I function with this lie, so the lie stays in control. And you cannot live the life God has for you when you believe the lie. And he says, start with what you've got. You give them something to eat. I can't feed this many people. I don't have what it takes. You're right. That's not what you have. But what you do have is a relationship and the presence of Jesus standing right there. He's right there. He's right there. So Jesus says, how many loaves do you have? Isn't that cute? They just said, you have to go get 8 months of bread for this many people. That's what it's going to cost. And Jesus' response to that was, well, how many loaves do you have? It's such a hysteria. It's like cute. It's like, I don't know, a few. You attracted these thousands of people. Half of them are sick. They all got problems. Real quick. Easier or harder to deal with? Sick people, ready, go. Harder is the answer, just so you know, you don't feel like you're going to get canceled. The answer is harder. It's not easy when you are sick. I am the worst patient. We are all bad, and men, we're way worse. We have a low tolerance to being sick. I don't know if you know that it's scientific. It's the science. I don't believe in science. Baptized. Okay, sorry, that's not for everybody. That's not. And so you have this space where, yes, you had to tell them. They're like, it was Nacho Libre. That was what it was. Someone young just told someone else. I love that. So you have you have this space where Jesus says, well, what do you have? Let's start with what you do have. It's like, we got a few loaves, dude. Like, you created this big old problem. Now you want me to solve it? Some of you have not verbalized that, but that is the way you are feeling about your current situation with God. Not with you and God. You and God are good, but it's you and your situations that's not good, and you're not too stoked on God about it. God has brought you out into this wilderness. God has you surrounded with all these responsibilities. God has made this thing so much more difficult than it needs to be. You're trying to honor him, listen to him, provide for him, make space for him. And now all of a sudden he's looking at you like you need to do something different or like something else to fix this. And to do this, you're like, what? Like, that's not fair. That's not fair. That's not fair. That's not fair. You did this, or this happened, or they did it, or that, and what about that, and them, and that, and all these people that have sick, and they all have bad attitudes. We're all the worst patients when we're sick. See all these sick people? Like, what? You think they're just politely waiting in line to be healed that day? I promise you, folks, it's like, you ever handed out bread to people who were hungry? That line gets crazy. You ever handed out shoes to people without shoes? That line gets raw. Well, humanity takes over. That's the crowd, lest we get too spiritual with when we read the Bible. And that's happening. Jesus is like, you're going to feed them. You're going to fix this. It's like, Jesus, this is not fair to me. And Jesus says this, start with what you have. How many loaves do you have? And then he says, go and see. Verse 38, when they found out, they said, 5 loaves. I don't know how many they sliced them into. I don't know what kind of bread you eat. I don't know if it's Dave's bread. I don't know what you do. But I know this, 5 loaves ain't feeding 5,000. That ain't happening. And then they go as a throw-in and 2 fish. Like, you're not making it better. I want you to see something. This is very big. And some of you need to be shook in your faith because you still want to function from a position that if I work hard, it always is fair and it works out. Not true. Not true. That's the hope. That's the dream. That's ideal. That's what we would love. That's why everybody left England and came over here so we could have a chance to try to have that out. Did that work for everyone all the time? No. Will it work for you all the time? No, it won't. Why? Because it's human. It's broken. The system can't be perfect. It's not heaven. It's earth. So what we have is a broken place. And this is what's big for people of Jesus. And this is what you must detach from the lie and insert the life, the faith that God has, which is this. When you're facing scarcity, you want to look at what you don't have, but Jesus is calling us back to looking at what we do have. You want to ruminate, you want to focus on, you want to stare, you want to repeat, you want to talk about what you don't have, what he is not, what your husband doesn't do, what he is not like, what he does wrong, all these things. And it goes round and round and round and round and round and round and round. And you wonder why you have no faith to feed the thousands. You wonder why someone else is able to have joy in the midst of a storm. There are some people who, if I took you out of your life and put someone else in your life with their faith and their practice of the thing I'm preaching right now, would have far more joy and far more peace than you do. And so it has nothing to do with your situation. It's the way you conduct yourself in the situation. You stare at the 5 loaves and the 2 fish instead of what? You ain't staring enough at the Christ asking you, can you just tell me how many loaves and fish you got? You got to start with what you have. And what you have is a relationship with one who can do wonders and miracles with your effort. He can take what you did bring to the table and multiply it. He can do miracles. He can change things, and he can change you. He can change the way you see it. He can change the way you experience it. You might have the same thing, but if inside it's different, you're like, then I'm learning to break from the lie of I don't have enough. Would I like more? Yes. There's a difference between I would like more and I don't have enough. And some of you are going to need to spend 2025 learning that. What's the difference between I would like some more, I don't have enough? I don't have enough is a controlling bondage that will wrap chains around you and you can never stop and you're always, and you believe a lie and you're just out for everything. But when you just would like some more, you're like, I would like some more. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to learn more. I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to read books. I'm going to listen to podcasts. I'm going to advance myself. I want to be better. Why? Because I'd like some more. But I also have enough. I have enough. Why? I have my Jesus. I have my faith. I have my health. I have my family. I have enough. As long as you think that you need more than about that list right there, can I tell you something? You will never have enough. You'll never have enough if you need more than you and Jesus, your family, you and your family's health, and your ability to be safe. I promise you that. That right there is enough. It is enough. Would you like more than that? Of course you do and should. But when you don't center and settle that being, as long as we got that, then let's just go see what we can do with the rest. Let's get what we can, but we're never going to function from this scarcity like, oh my God, let's stay, Jesus, we can't. Because you pass that down, and it's a faithless experience. Though you might believe properly theologically, the faithlessness of that emotional and spiritual experience in your home will ruin people's connection to God and make them busy doing things that don't matter. And you'll get caught up. So Jesus directs them, have the people sit down. Verse 39, sit them down in groups on the green grass. More about that, but I don't have time. So they sat down in groups of 100 and 50s. I just want to say this, organize the move of God. Do you see Jesus organizing the move of God? He's organizing it. He's getting it ready for the move and the miracle. Sometimes we want miracles, but we haven't structured our life to be prepared for it. You haven't organized yourself. You haven't set yourself up. You're not dialed in. You're not tuned up. You're not ready for it. To be honest, if you just would have had these people sitting scattered crazy all over the place in no groups, and then all of a sudden fish and bread start getting multiplied, it'd have been chaos. But instead, Jesus was organized about his miracles. He was organized about his spiritual training and teaching. He's like, look, in order for this to go, I'm going to multiply this stuff. You about to have this thing blow your mind. We're about to stretch your faith. You're about to see that I am the God of all gods. I can do anything. Nothing is impossible if I'm standing close. And having said that, sit them in hundreds and sit them in 50s and get them on the green grass. Why? Because grass keeps you from being uncomfortable and getting crabby. Grass is a small little part that says, we out in the wilderness, we, away from it all, get them off the rocks, get them off the pebbles, get them away from the thistles and briars, get them on the grass. Why? So that we don't start getting impatient waiting for the miracle of the fish and bread to come to me. Why? Because you're looking across the way, you're like, they eating. Sup? Hey, yo, John, when you gonna come down here? Yeah, you see, I see you over there. You over there feeding them. You ain't feeding me. My family hungry too. You think my kids don't matter? Yeah, that man, yeah. Whatever, dude. What? Say something then. I wish you would. Get over here. I'm sure you've never done or seen that done before. We start losing your mind, getting all testy and pregnant, mad, and who's getting these people getting it? Jesus knows that about you. You, not me. And so he calms us down sometimes and says, hey, shh, sit on the grass, Chris. Just sit on the grass. Get a little organized. Calm down. I'll be by with some fish and bread, miraculously, mind you, here very soon. Just be patient and watch me move. So how is it that he wants us to do this? Practically speaking, I think that for us, we have to listen to the things we say, because what you say is what you will feel and what you will believe, and it will be your truth, whether it's true or not. So listen to what you say. What you say in here and what you say with your mouth. Because what you say in here about yourself and about your situation and about God and about what is and what isn't, it will get into your mind and it will get into your heart and it will get into your belief, and then it will become your actions, and then your actions will turn into your life, and then it's just this thing that you just think is so true. It's not true. But you got to go back to the lie. The seed is the lie, and that is your thought about what it is. And so you have to start with what you do have. And what you do have is a connection to Jesus, who loves you, who can provide for you, and is enough for you. When Jesus is all you need, I promise you, it takes so much stress down. But Pastor Chris, I need to eat. I need to be able to get gas. Yeah, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the emotional, spiritual, it's up to me. I got to go get all that. No. Start with what you do have. What do you have? I've got this, I've got that, I could do this, I know this, I could hustle that, I could go here, I could do this, I know these people, I could do, I could go back, I could learn, I could ask, I could. And when you start with what you have, and the start of that is the relationship with Christ and the dependence on him. And then you just bring your loaves and fish, whatever your names of your loaves and fish are. It's like, I got this, and you bring it to him. And you say, I need you to do what only you can do. He took the loaves, he prayed, he multiplied it, it went all around. And so I want to ask you to consider this idea is if you give God what you have, God will give you what he has. Give God what you have, and God will give you what he has. And he has so much more than you have. He's not needing you to give him anything because he don't have it already. He needs you to give him what is right and true and obedient so that he can see that he can trust you with what he has to give to you. And then he has no problem making sure that, hey, watch this and we'll do this. And there are times that you have to wait in line while someone else is getting fish and bread first. And you got to watch that. And then you know what he's watching? He's watching your heart. He's watching how do you handle when somebody else gets first and second and third place and somebody else gets served first and you got to wait. Do you lose it? Do you start getting indignant? Do you get like, this isn't fair? You know what? It's always been like this. I can't stand it. Every time they come around, they're always or are you like, God, would you speak to my heart? Would you use this as a training? Would you shave that stuff out of me? I don't want to be like that anymore. I want to stop believing the lie that I'm not important or that everyone else always wins or like this is impossible. Help me to start listening to the things I let myself think. And that spiritual exercise can change this next year for you. Practically speaking, for some of you, we are in a tough season and it's difficult out there, right? So there is, for some of you, you have enough, and today's message is so you can change the lie from I don't have enough, and you could go, I do have enough. I want more, but I have enough. For some of you, you just need to start telling yourself that right away. God, I have enough. I do. I have enough. I would like more, and I'm not gonna not work. I'm gonna be ambitious. I'm gonna learn and stretch and grow and achieve and fix and go after things. I wanna do that. But I have enough. And that settles you down on your days off. That settles you down at 5:30, 6 o'clock. You could put your phone away. You could stop checking the ticker of like how your stocks are doing. You could stop taking all the phone, making sure that you could be like, it's gonna be all right. Why? Because I have enough. So I'm gonna be all right. I can get back to it tomorrow. I'll get back to it on Monday. I'll be all right. Why? I got enough, man. I got everything I need. It's like literally right here. And you start telling yourself that, and it calms you down. Does that mean on Monday, when it's time to be back to the grind, you don't get up and get better than it? No, of course you do. You get up and grind and run and learn and grow and read and discover and discipline yourself and do things different and do things hard that are not easy for you, that no one else is doing, which is what will advance you beyond the rest of your peers in your industry or your sport or whatever you want to achieve. Yes, you do all that, but you don't do that because you don't have enough. You do that because you have all you need. You just would like some more. Why? So you could do more for God with it. When you get that right, oh man, then you'll chase things so hard so you could do more for God with it. And then when it's time to let the sun come down and rest for the day and rest for one day a week, you can do that because you have enough. This year, I want to see these lies start getting pulled out of the vineyard and the garden of your mind and your heart, church. It's my desire. In the next couple weeks, we're going to go after a few other really powerful lies. I want to encourage you to make time to be here. Next week, we're also doing a block party. Pastor Kellen told you about it. But if you got kids, like get your kids like dialed in. Bring as many guests as you can and let next week be powerful because we've got a really good one for guests next week. I think you bring guests every week, but next week we're really thinking through that, and I want to do that. Let me pray for you real fast and ask God to really move in this space in your life. God, thank you so much for your word. It's eternal, it's powerful, it changes us. And I pray that today you would help us to come back to you and start with what we have. Some of us, we have been programmed, we have been trained. It was modeled for us by our parents, by our families, by our big brother or sister. They just consistently stared at and complained about and talked about what they did not have. And we have adopted that lie and that approach, and we want that to be broken off of us today. And I ask in Jesus' name, you would break those lies. Would you pull those weeds, break those chains, do the shackles that have bound us for so long? And we're out there trying to just have more than we need and overdo it, and we're not living because we're living the lie. You are what we need. We need to start with you. Yes, For some of us, the health concern seems impossible. For some of us, our fitness and getting back to being a healthy, it seems impossible. For us to not lose our emotions and to lose our cool, it seems for us to not just be buried underneath stress or anxiety or sadness. All that just seems like that's impossible. I don't even know how to do that. But I pray, God, that lie would be the first lie that we bring to you and say, Jesus, I want to stop telling myself this lie. And I want to believe that if I start with you and what I do have, that you can begin to multiply it little by little by little. And by the time I get to the end of this year, I would see more of you and less of this way of thinking so that I could live the life and stop living that lie. Do that in us as a church, I pray. If you believe that for yourself today, would you say amen? Amen. Amen. Church, I love you so much. Happy New Year. Let's go change the world together. See you next week for the kids' block party. Let's have a good time. Bye.